Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series. Hey guys, it's Adam here, and recently I got to take yet another trip up to the Greater Toronto area in Canada. I went up once again for the Waterloo Video Game Swap of September 2016. I had previously been to the May 2016 one, and it was fantastic, so I really wanted to go back, and I was lucky enough to be able to. So this is what the room looks like, but when you get in early, if you're helping to set stuff up, no one in there obviously, and then as soon as it opens, bam, look at that. Yeah, it's a really very cool event. It is the largest video game swap in North America, and it's really badass. Now, if you go in the normal way, this is what happens. You know, you go in, you buy your ticket, and you go in, and you just see the chaos, like all the insanity of people there. Also with buying a ticket, you know, you get raffle entries, and there's a lot of great prizes and stuff that they give away, which is really cool. But all right, now flashing back in time here a little bit, this is when people were still setting up. Basically, if you're not familiar, video game swaps are just like big meets and stuff where you can go and you can buy a lot of video games. And you can trade your video games, sell your video games, etc. So in this case, what I was doing is I was just wandering around to kind of get a sense of, like, you know, who had what and what kind of stuff I was interested in and what I was going to try to get as soon as it opened, right? So here you take a look at We Got Games store's inventory, run by my buddy Kamal. I've done a couple videos on his store. It's a fantastic store, really nice guy. That's Brian, one of the people who work for him. And then here, this was Pete Diak's series of tables. Pete Diak is one of the guys who runs the swap. Hell of a good dude. That was Mike on the right. That's, of course, Scott the Canadian. I'm sure a lot of you guys know him by now. So we had multiple tables, and a lot of them were selling their stuff. And there's SeeJayAre, not the best shot of him, unfortunately, but, you know, you guys might know him. He's another YouTuber. A lot of the Canadian YouTubers, at least in that area, do go to this. The gaming YouTubers, obviously. There's Danny from Retrollectors. Hell of a good dude. But yeah, so I just thought I'd give you guys a lot of quick footage here just to kind of show. Oh, no, that's Frankie, the guy right here. He was a fan. He was also a guy selling stuff. It's nice to meet him. But yeah, I'm just showing you guys, like, you know, samples of basically stuff people were selling. I know a lot of you are screaming at me right now saying, like, dude, slow down. Let us actually look at stuff. You don't understand how hard that is. Like, that's a really tall order because people want to get in there and they want to, like, fish around and, like, look at stuff, and you can't just sit there. Oh, there's Jason Relaxation, and there's Mike, also one of the Retrollectors. You can't just sit there with the camera and get, like, tons and tons of footage. You know, people don't want me to be doing that. They just want to go in and do their business. So I have to get footage very quickly and efficiently. That's Kamal on the left, the guy who runs We Got Games. He's the owner. Hell of a nice guy as well. Good, really seriously a good dude. Always has, like, insanely awesome inventory. There's J-Rock the Gamer, another really awesome guy. And of course there's Shane, Rerez, one of my best friends. Awesome dude. Oh, he just nodded and said, no, we're not best friends. That's cold, man. He's just reacting to it. There's Scott the Canadian again. At one point, Scott was like, hey, man, help me out. Help me sell my stuff. So naturally, I just started turning on my camera and getting footage instead of helping him because, you know, what are friends for? But, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so every once in a while, Scott would be like, hey, man, I'm actually looking for something, but I have to stay at my table. Can you run out and see if you can find this? That's Mike from Retro Replay. Also a really good store I've done videos on before. But yeah, no, like, Scott would be like, hey, man, go out and look for this. So I'd be like, sure, whatever. And I'd wander around until I could find it, or if I could find it at all. And usually I did. I think we managed to get everything that was on his wish list that was reasonable anyway. Yeah, so again, really a cool swap. It's fantastic. I really like going to it. You see all sorts of insanely rare things. Like, just copy a Snatcher sitting there. You don't get to see that shit every day unless you own one, which I do not. But, yeah, man, so another look around here. Again, there's J-Rock the Gamer, and there's We Got Games, and there's Shane. And I was just kind of spying on Shane and I didn't think he really would notice. And then eventually, of course, he did. Because I have to be weird to him. Because that's fun. This is also, I'm like sneaking a shot here. This is something that Shane got. Shane, if you guys don't know, Rerez TV, check out his channel. He likes to do videos on, like, really obscure, odd stuff that, like, no one's ever seen before. So that thing perfectly fit the bill. I think that was Gamer Alley VT who just passed by the screen there in the red hat. I think. I'm sorry, dude. I think that was you. But yeah, man. So another pass on this other side because I had realized I hadn't gotten any footage of this side on the left. Lots of, you know, just stuff, man. Like bins full of all the stuff you'd kind of expect. A lot of good deals can be had there, especially as an American for me. Now, this is obviously in Canada, so with the exchange rate being what it is currently, it's like a 25% discount off of whatever anything says. So if something says it's $10, that's the equivalency of like $7 almost USD, which is nice for me anyway. Over there, they had a bunch of kiosks and stuff. They did like a Tetris tournament and a few other things. That was pretty cool. Yeah, also I believe the Game Experts were over there on the left. They have a really cool store I've done a video on. And this is, I think we were getting down to like, you know, fire sale mode time when like that guy right there in particular, the dude with the blue pants and the white jacket, like that dude was willing to like burn through his inventory for like nothing. It was really cool. And this is Scott's. He was trying to sell it. It's an S-modded Sega Master System. But he just, you know, he couldn't find the right buyer. He has actually a really reasonable price on it. But anyway, he was unable to sell it. And now the swap was totally winding down, and we were getting ready to go. So the dude on the left there is Pete. The guy on the right is Aaron. I just want to give another shout out to Pete here. He's a guy like he's one of the dudes who runs this thing. Hell of a good guy. Time for pickups. Didn't get as much stuff this year, and one of the things, the best thing, is not on this table. I'll explain what when we get to that point. But let me just show you a few items I got. You have to remember, of course, that I was limited to the space in a backpack, so that's all I could bring. So I already had a bunch of other stuff from stores, and that SCART switch from Scott the Canadian. If you saw Playload, you know what I'm talking about. So limited amount of space. But here's what I ended up getting. First up, one of the fucking worst pieces of shit games I could have ever possibly purchased, but I had to have it. Let's Cheer for the Xbox 360. It's a Kinect game for 12-year-old girls. How fucking awesome. No, I didn't really want this fucking game, but here's the thing. We did a video on this game on my other channel, Game Society Pimps, a couple of years ago. It's really funny to play Kinect games when they're really not intended for your age bracket, because they're awful, but they're hilarious. They're comedy gold. But yeah, so we had fun playing that game. But recently we had a situation where we needed to play this game again. So we actually had a hard time finding it. We actually had to rent it from Gamefly, and we made our video on it. But I thought it would actually be good to get a copy of this just in case, A, we ever have to do this bullshit again, and B, for promotional materials. You know, you never really know. It was dirt cheap. The guy was asking like $5 Canadian, which I think I got him down like another $1 or so, and ended up getting this for the equivalency of about $2 US. But I still fucking overpaid. Anyway, I have it though. Next up, the same guy, although this was hours later. He had like a lot of booths of just kind of stuff, you know, like whatever the hell. And in this case, this is just random. He had like 8 or 10 sealed copies of this, and he clearly was not in any. He clearly could not get rid of them. But I picked one up. It's a promotional disc for the original Xbox. On the front, it says limited edition Mech Assault 2 Lone Wolf, which was an advertisement for that particular game. On the back, it actually has the Xbox Live Arcade. Now, if you open it up, the disc is just the Xbox Live Arcade disc, and then it just advertises more about Mech Assault 2. Now, in case you're like, what is this? Alright, so at one point, the original Xbox had a magazine, Xbox Official Magazine, I think it was. And it would always include like demo discs that were usually in those like paper sleeves and stuff. I remember this though, after I had stopped subscribing at some point, but at one point I saw this in stores. One magazine had this exact disc, where it was like one of these slim DVD cases, and they had decided to exclusively, and I say that in extremely heavy quotations, release this game, Xbox Live Arcade, with that magazine. So that was the only way you were going to be able to get that game, was if you bought that particular issue of the magazine. I was tempted to do it back in the day. I didn't do it. Now, the thing is, they didn't actually make it exclusive to the magazine. What ultimately happened is, this is just funny, they released it in Japan as a physical retail standalone release. I have that. I ended up getting that through some other deal. I didn't really aim to get it, I just have it. Then in North America, they went back on that, and they ended up releasing it as a bundle pack-in with one of the particular models of the console. You know, you buy the console and have a bonus pack-in disc for package for Project Gotham Racing 2 and Xbox Live Arcade as a bonus disc. So you'd have both in the same case, right? I have that version. Again, just kind of came with something at some point, you know. And then at one point they did a paper sleeve version, just like I was talking about a moment ago. It's just a 4x3 looking shaped little paper case that can hold a disc, and it's foldable a little bit. I have that. Again, just kind of found it with some shit at some point. In this case, I was like, I don't really need it, obviously. I literally had 3 other copies of the exact same game, but I was like, this is the only other one that exists. And the guy has like 8 or 10 of them sealed. He was asking $4 Canadian a piece. I just walked up to him, confident as fuck. I had a loonie, which to my fellow Americans, a loonie is essentially a Canadian dollar. It's just it's a coin worth $1, but with the exchange rate to us Americans, it's worth 75 cents US. I just walked up to him, I grabbed one of them, and I just put out a loonie. I'm like, we got a deal? He's like, oh yeah, and he took it. Like, I could have probably handed him a fucking nickel and he would have taken it. Like, he had so many of these things, and he just clearly was never getting rid of them, so he was probably thrilled I bought one. And yes, I opened it because I didn't, who fucking cares? But yeah, for 75 cents equivalency, who gives a shit? But yeah, just cool to have in the collection, just another random little Xbox OG promo thing. Now, and then I got a few GameCube titles. I've started focusing a little bit more on GameCube lately. I am by no stretch of the imagination even interested in a full set for GameCube. But what I do want from GameCube, or at least what I'm developing more of an interest in, is I want GameCube games that did not exist on the original Xbox or the Sega Dreamcast, of which there's quite a few, not a ton, but there's a good amount. And GameCube stuff, as is usual with Nintendo products, is going up. So I wanted to start chipping away at that and getting them cheap while I still can. OG Xbox, which I'm still very passionate about going after, is still pretty rock bottom cheap. So I'm not as worried about it. You can usually get boxes of that shit, but GameCube it's a little bit harder. So whenever I find it, I kind of go after it now anyway. So the first one up, Mark Davis Pro Bass Challenge. I'm sure it's quality. Actually, I have no idea because I don't play fishing games. You know, like, I mean, what's the gold standard of fishing games? Sega Bass Fishing? I don't fucking know. I don't understand. Like, there's obviously a market for these things, but it always blows my mind that there's so many damn fishing games. I just don't know who the fuck's buying these, other than retards like me. But now, next one up. This one's the only thing that's interesting about this game to me is I'll just show you. Meet the Robinsons, which is based on a pretty mediocre Disney movie from like 2006 or whatever. This game was also released on the Xbox 360 and I think probably the PlayStation 2. The reason for that is, I don't know how well people remember this, but in 2005, Microsoft released the Xbox 360 and they dropped the OG Xbox fucking hard. Like hard. They stopped giving a shit about it like that. And when they did that, all the developers went with them. So there was like basically an entire year where developers put their games on the GameCube, PS2, and Xbox 360 instead of the OG Xbox. Yes, there were some that kept going all the way until Madden 2009 actually, which was released in, of course, 2008 because that's, you know, numbers. But yeah, so this is a game that realistically would have ended up on the OG Xbox, but because of that, it didn't. So instead, my fallback was the GameCube. Next up, Rampage Total Destruction. This is a GameCube game I've had my eye on for a while. I've wanted it just because Rampage is a cool series. But usually I can't find it for like less than $10 US or 15 even sometimes. In this case, the seller was asking 8 Canadian, which would have been about like $6 US, so that was already totally fair. But I offered him 5. Like, this was my first pickup of the day actually. I offered him 5, he took it. 5 Canadian, he took it. So that's like $3.50 US. So that's a fucking deal. Hell yeah. The other thing I didn't even notice about it until I was looking at it afterwards is that this game also includes the original version of Rampage and Rampage World Tour, which I think was an N64 game. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, so very cool little compilation disc, I guess. So there you go. Sorry, I forgot about this one when I was doing the main shot. I just forgot to put it on the table. Obviously another GameCube game. Road Trip, the arcade edition, nothing particularly special about it, but it is a GameCube exclusive, so I grabbed it because it was cheap. And finally, as far as games is concerned, the deal of the day. Skies of Arcadia Legends. Oh yes, one of the hardest GameCube games to get, one of the most expensive GameCube games to get, and I got it for fucking cheap. Now here's how.
And this dates back quite some time. Getting this game was like 4 years in development. So basically what happened is in like 2012, I was out in Washington State, which has the best Goodwills in all of the U.S., by the way. Like down in Vancouver, Washington, as well as like right over the border in Oregon, in Portland, there's a couple of them. They have Goodwill. I talked about this when I did videos like 4 years ago. But basically what they have down there are Goodwills that are called dig and saves. What they do is that Goodwill takes all their unsold stuff like every couple of weeks and just puts it on trucks and ships it out to these 3 facilities. And then you can go into the facility and they have just it's a giant warehouse with plastic tubs everywhere, like giant blue plastic tubs. And they just put stuff in them. They try to organize it a little bit so you're not mixing clothes with like toys and like electronics, like all in the same thing, but it's still pretty dirty and stuff, you know, but nevertheless, you can go in because you can find some cool shit. I found a lot of great stuff, along with I found one spot where there was just a giant stack of GameCube games. And we're talking like a lot of the heavy hitters here. And I was like, holy shit. And I grabbed all of them. You have to understand, the way that the dig and save works is different. It doesn't say like, oh, it's $4.99 or whatever, like a regular price on it. Everything is by the pound. Like, that's how they weigh it. It's like something retardedly cheap, like 25 cents a pound or some shit for anything in the store. It doesn't matter what the hell it is. And so I found like a whole stack of GameCube games, right? And I opened them up, every single disc was out of there. They were all gone. Obviously they'd been stolen because the GameCube, like, I don't know who the hell these people are. They're so cheap that they wouldn't pay essentially like the 12 cents it would have cost to get the disc with the case. But whatever. I got it. I bought the case, right? And it literally was pennies. Literally, because that shit don't weigh much. So anyway, I have that, and I have a few others that I've been trying to, basically I thought that the logic was, look, it's hard to find the discs, but maybe I'll find it eventually. I'm not going to sweat over it for just a few cents, literally. So I'll hold on to it. Fast forward to the Waterloo Video Game Swap. A full 4 years later, I am wandering around this convention floor, and what do I find? Well, I'm sure it's really fucking obvious what I found. You're smart, I can tell. Obviously, there was a seller there selling just GameCube discs, just by themselves. And obviously, they had Skies of Arcadia Legends. Now, this particular seller was asking $80 Canadian, which is like 65 US, which was a little high. I mean, I've seen it, the disc only sell for about that, even a little more, but I wasn't really in the mood to pay for it. Like, if I could get it on eBay, then I'm not really getting a deal right there, you know? But I thought, okay, let me see what I can do here. So I offered them 60 Canadian, which is about 45 US. They accepted. So really, when you think about it, I got the full thing complete for $45. I'll take that deal because that's a really expensive game. That's not bad. I'm not displeased by any stretch of the imagination with that deal. Now, as I mentioned before, there is one other item, my favorite item of this entire trek here. But unfortunately, I can't show it to you, at least in my possession. And here's why. Let's go into this little story. The convention, the Waterloo Video Game Swap, went until about 5 p.m. Okay, that's officially when the doors close. And around 4:30 or so, it's time to start doing, you know, fire sale rounds. You know, you walk around and you try to lowball people and see who's willing to accept, because a lot of people don't want to take that shit back with them. So you can get a lot of good deals. So I started to go around to do that, and I saw this one booth I had passed by multiple times, but this time something caught my eye. It was an original Xbox Debug Kit with 13 prototype discs. Let me say that again. An original Xbox Debug Kit with 13 prototype discs. Now, I looked at it in astonishment, because I was like, how did that even, what? Like, how do you have that? And the seller was asking $400 Canadian for it, which I think is the equivalency of like 310 US, something like that. And so I started asking her, you know, questions. I'm just like, where'd it come from? You know, how'd you get it? Blah, blah, blah. And, you know, she said it came from Assembler Games. She had bought it a few years ago. And the 13 prototypes, she warned me that like, none of them were unreleased games. Like, all of them got released. These versions just happen to be like alphas and stuff of the same games. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. But at the same time, as neat as it was to see that, and as much as I love the OG Xbox, I really wasn't in the mood to spend that much money on anything, especially something that, frankly, I wouldn't be able to take back physically because of the size. Most likely. I hadn't, at that point, figured out how much shit I could fit in my bags or not, but I was pretty sure fitting an OG Xbox with 13 prototypes plus all the other shit was probably not going to work out. So I kind of talked myself out of it, and I just kind of walked away. Now fast forward a little bit to like 4:55, like 5 minutes before shit's closing down. Everybody's starting to tear everything down, getting ready to go. And suddenly my buddy Shane, Rerez, comes out of nowhere and he's like, "Yo man, what's up?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna show you something." And I thought he wouldn't really care about this, but I was just kind of trying to prank him a little, I guess. And I'm like, "Hey, come with me, I gotta show you something." I'm like, "Sure, whatever." So we walk over and I show him the Xbox Debug Kit, thinking he's not gonna care. Instead he's like, "Holy crap," like he's actually really excited about it. And I was like, "Oh, well shit, you should totally buy that thing." And he's looking at it, and he starts talking to her, and he's like, "Yeah," he's basically getting the same information I was. And then then he's like, "But $400, man, I don't know, I don't know." Now you have to understand at this point, I'm sitting there staring at the Xbox, much like I'm staring at you right now. And Shane, for the left of me, he just turns and walks away. So I figured that's him going, "Nah, I'm good." What I didn't know is that he had gotten a phone call. That's why he walked away. So, again, I didn't know why he left. I assumed that was just him passing, because literally the thing he had said right before that is $400, and I don't think so. That sounds negative, right? Like, I'm not interested. So then I'm sitting there staring at this thing. It's almost like, literally, they're starting to pack everything up, and I thought, maybe I'll offer something here. Maybe we'll see how this goes. Because in that meantime, I had kind of looked up Xbox debug kits to try and get a better sense of what they're worth. Xbox debug kits, the green ones, can be like $300 for the unit itself, USD, sometimes $350 or so. And at the same time, I looked up prototype discs. People have those. People sell those. And a lot of the times they sell, depending upon the game, they usually sell between like $40 to $60 USD. She had 13 of them. So really, when she was asking $400 CAD, that was not an unreasonable request. But again, I just didn't feel like spending that much money. Even though, again, she was offering, frankly, a pretty fair deal. And she was probably actually losing money on that deal. I went ahead and I offered something low, almost kind of hoping she would say no so that I could just claim I made an offer and moved on. I offered 300 CAD, which is the equivalency of about $220 US. And she immediately went, "Okay, deal." Didn't hesitate at all, deal, done. Which of course tells me I could have got it for less, but I didn't know that. And so I was like, "Oh, okay, sure." So I went ahead and I bought it. I gave her my credit card, charged it, it was all good, we're done. And I'm packing it up, I'm literally, grabbing it and starting to walk away. She's putting it in the bag and she's about to hand it to me. Shane walks back over. And he was like, "Okay, sorry, that was my wife, I just checked with her, yes, 400, done, deal, let's go. You got a deal." Oh, that was awkward. Because it was awkward because she realized she could have sold it for more. And then he had just found out, one of my best friends just found out I bought it instead of him. Now, again, you have to understand, I thought he didn't want it. So that's what I thought when he walked away. So at this point, it is now my possession. And so I felt bad for her, even though, she did agree to the sale. It was done, it was over. So we walked away, and I was like, "Okay, Shane." He wasn't mad or anything. You have to understand a couple things about Shane. First of all, he's Canadian, so he's like super nice. But second of all, like, he is not a collector. He likes to buy video game stuff that he can make videos on that he finds interesting. And as soon as he's done with it, he's very willing to part with it. He doesn't really keep much of anything, except for stuff he sent for like promotional purposes. He's, out of principle, will not sell things he was given for free. That make sense? I basically said to him, like, "Look, dude, I come up to Canada a lot. There's no reason for any kind of like hostility here." Again, he wasn't mad. I swear to you, he wasn't mad. There was no awkwardness in that way. It was just, I said, "Okay, tell you what, you hang on to the Xbox, you hang on to the prototypes, and you make your video. You can scour through it for whatever you want to look at it." Because I know he was like pleading with me to like check the hard drive, which of course I was totally fine with him doing. Although I was pretty sure he would find nothing on it because I noticed that it had been opened at the bottom, and she said she got it from Assembler Games, and those guys tend to go through that stuff. So I'm like, "There's not going to be anything on there, but you're more than welcome to look at it." So I don't have it in my possession. It's still in Canada at the time I make this video, but I will have it back in a few months. So that way everyone kind of wins here, you know. Shane gets to look through that thing, he can make his video, and it didn't cost him a dime to do it. The woman made a sale, even though, yes, technically she probably lost money on the deal. She did agree to it, so the deal was done. And in my case, I get the Xbox Debug Kit, and I get 13 prototypes, which is just a cool thing to have. Although I don't have them yet, Shane. But yeah, no, it was all good, man. It's all good. So yeah, that's unfortunately I can't show it to you without just showing you like stock footage and stuff. Shane shot a lot of footage for me. I appreciate that. But yeah, anyway. So that's it, guys. I had a great time at the Waterloo Game Swap. I really hope I get to go again next year, which I think will probably be like May of 2017 is my guess. I hope to see some of you there. I'll obviously do a promotional thing beforehand to let you guys know if I am indeed going. But yeah, man, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all later.